Okay, disruptive students. Now we're talking about students themselves. What do you do with a rude and hostile student? Keep yourself in control and concentrate on the issues. We'll keep talking more about that. The moment you lose it with the mischief maker, you'll become the bad guy. What's important to me is before you even have a hostile, rude student, is that everybody needs to know you are in total control, absolutely, from the get-go. My daughter, Melissa, who teaches a stress management class at a university, she invited me to be as a speaker, because I handle stress pretty well. I have a lot of ways of stress-relieving devices in my life, the way I handle stress. Dad, could you come in there and kind of help people, give your story about how you handle stress? I'm like, yeah, no problem, sweetheart. So I get there. I said, babe, what time do you start? Well, we start at 7 o'clock and we go, let's say we start at 6:30 and we go till 9. But, sometimes we get out early. We get out of there 8:15, 8:30. I said, look, we go till 9 o'clock. Oh, okay. Well, I don't think that's going to be a problem, but I do know there's one student in the class that's probably going to say something about it.
Good.
I say, what's his name? His name is Jeffrey, let's just say. I said, okay, no problem. I don't say anything. I said, but we're going to 9 o'clock. Because I need the time, because I'm going to go on at whatever, 8 o'clock, because you start at your 6:30, and I need that one full hour. Okay. I get to class, and I say, so, sweetheart, which one's Jeffrey? Oh, he's the one over there. Okay, no problem. So she's making an introduction, getting it started. We have a guest speaker. Now, they don't know that I'm her father. They just know I'm some person coming as a guest speaking. And she says, listen, I spoke to the guest speaker, and tonight, she said, tonight, we are going to go until 9 o'clock. As soon as she said that, I'm watching Jeffrey. As soon as she says that, he starts to say something. I get up out of my chair, sitting in the corner on the side on some boxes. I get up and I walk right to the middle of the room and I point. I said, Jeffrey, we're going to 9 o'clock. You can leave anytime you want to leave. And then I stop and I go back and I sit down. Everybody in class is like stunned. My daughter is stunned. And she says, well, I guess you met the guest speaker. You know what? Jeffrey never said one word.
Yeah.
So you have to realize that you have the potential that somebody's in there is not interested in what you're doing, and they're interested in. I don't mind you fighting me and giving me a hard time. I have no problem with that, because that's all part of how we sharpen each other up. But there's respect even in war, right? I mean, there's a respect here. We understand. Okay, fine. I'll let you go. Not like I'm just going to be disruptive. Okay? So take control before the class starts. Sometimes they say, well, Mike, I say, is anybody I'd be worried about? Well, there's one guy, he's kind of like the code guy, and he's the one. You've ever been to a seminar and they tell you there's a code guy that they have? Yeah. He's the one that really is the code guy. I want to know who he is. And I watch him, and I hate to do this. But I blow the guy up. As soon as he starts coming in and starting in that, and he's trying, and I try to be as nice as I can. And then I blow them up by technical. No. So I cannot lose control of the class. So let's keep going. You can't lose control of yourself. Never lose your temper. When you feel your temper heating up, tell yourself you're being tested. I have lost it one time in a class, and I don't want to get the whole long story, but it was a CEU class that had never been CEU before. It just required CEU. People were coming to the class for the very first time in their life, and they were upset about the whole thing, so they were annoyed. I didn't know that. I'm thinking you're coming to class because you're learning. I'm not aware of people coming to a class with an attitude that they didn't want to be there. And there was these 4 guys that were just creating all kinds, making jokes and making comments, and I'm trying to be nice, and they keep making all these comments, trying to be nice, and it just had me off my game the whole morning. At lunchtime, I am going nuts. I am so mad at myself that I allowed these guys to totally drag me around. And when I got back, I made it really, really, really clear. And I told these guys, look, I put up with you for 4 hours, and I try to be a really nice guy. So let me set the tone right now. You 4 guys will not say one word the rest of the day. And if you have a problem with that, you're going to get up right now, and you're going to leave. But I am not putting up with any of your crap, period. So you make the decision right now. You stay there and you keep your mouth shut, or you get up and you leave right now. Okay, well then let's get going. and then we moved on. It wasn't a good setting. What should have happened was I should have taken control 4 hours sooner.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
It got out of control. But I wasn't in a way where now they were the victims because I had attacked them. I just made it real clear, here's what's going on. If you lose it in your class, okay, you're out of control. You're now the bad guy. No matter how bad they were, you're the bad guy. We talked earlier. Nothing can justify your inappropriate behavior. I don't care what anybody else does. It cannot justify that at all. Self-control is mandatory, and it has to be maintained. Brian?
Well, I'm just thinking back to a time actually fairly recently where before the class I was visiting like you're supposed to be doing, and one of the 2 guys that had organized the class said, hey, listen, our health and safety guy is going to be coming in. He thinks he's a code expert, and he's going to cause problems in the class. He always does. And I said, okay, can you do me a favor? When he comes in, can you point him out to me?
Yes.
And what I did, before he could become a problem, I just said, hey, Mr. So-and-so, nice to have you with us. I understand you're the health and safety expert and a bit of a code official. And I said, I'm going to be calling on you for some opinions, but be aware that, you need to make sure whatever we share with the class is 100% accurate with the code. That guy was like, he ate that up because you put him kind of in the spot he wanted to be in, but I was still in control.
But you know what? You brought a great point here. Other people can say this guy is like a real problem person, but in reality, Ryan, they might say, you're a real problem guy, right? But in reality, you're not a problem to me because we're all actually on the same page. You're a problem to people who don't like the code to be enforced.
Yeah. Yep.
So this guy who's a safety guy, he finally finds somebody that he doesn't mind being wrong. Wow. So you got to be careful and say, well, we have this problem with this one guy. Be aware that this person is just frustrated because he keeps bringing up the real truth, and everybody else, well, that's a bunch of baloney. Don't even mess with that like that. So, and I like what you're saying is to be aware. Bring them engaged.
Yep.
The ones that you're concerned about. The ones that you know are just being young, troublemaking.
Then they're on your team.
Exactly. Good point.
When I'm warned about somebody, and it does happen, we've all had that. When I'm told about somebody, I always give the person the benefit of the doubt that he's just going to love my class and he's not going to be a problem at all. And the reason I do that is because I know the longest I could possibly have to deal with this is 1 hour and 15 minutes. And I can stand on my head for 1 hour and 15 minutes. I can do anything for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And then it's break time. And then we'll talk. You know what I mean? But me personally, I don't know that I could call somebody out, having never met the person, and saying, look, Johnny Bob, you're not going to do... That's just not the way I operate.
Well, 1 second.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I said the way I handled it was because I had failed the first 4 hours.
Right.
So that caused me to take an action that you wouldn't have done because you're saying, well, I would have taken care of that at the first break, Mike. I wouldn't have waited till after lunch.
Right.
And that would have been the best approach.
Right.
Is to take care of it sooner, get it solved sooner, not allow it to. But the only thing good about me was I didn't blow up.
Right.
I was clear, and I had to point them out.
Yeah.
But I didn't go crazy where they're all like, oh, man, these poor guys. I feel bad for them, and Mike's a jerk.
But if somebody warns me about somebody, I'm not going to even talk to them until I've seen it with my own eyes.
Absolutely.
Let them, if they are a problem, fine, then they're a problem, and I'll talk to them in an hour. That's the way I would do it.
Crusaders. Some guys have a crusade. They have a vision. They want to talk about this one thing, and they want you to believe them no matter what you have to tell them. The leader of an unlikely cause generally doesn't deserve parliamentary procedure. These guys, they don't follow parliament. In other words, they're just blowing up. They're just in the whole thing, and they want you to jump online, and they have this vision about something, and when they come to me, they look at me like, I'm like, listen, I know this is something that's important to you, but you know what? I don't care. And they go crazy. I said, no, you don't understand. I don't care. You don't care? You don't care about lives? You don't care about this? I'm like, no, I don't care. That's something you care about. This is not the place for this crusade. So you have to take it somewhere else. I got a program to cover. This one I cover. You want to email me later on? You want to talk to me another time? I might care. But I don't care right now because that's not what I'm trying to do right now. So you need to work with me. I don't want to draw attention to their cause in the class. I don't have enough knowledge. This is not the place to do it. You might even be right, but this is just not the time for me to deal with it. Don't destroy the person in class. Try to get them, like you said, in the beginning, as soon as you can. Right. Listen, get with me later on. I'm not saying you're wrong. You know, they can become a martyr if you destroy them in the class, and that's not what we're looking to do. Anticipate them before they begin. You can see what's going on here. Say, okay, the first answer didn't work, the second answer didn't work, third answer didn't work. Okay, you want an answer. I mean, I get a phone call. Hey, Mike, listen, I have a code question for you. I'm thinking you're actually calling me and you actually want an answer. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. And so I give the answer. They said, no, I don't think you understand what I'm trying to say. I'm like, well, yeah, I do understand you. No, come, Mike, let me finish because I have a tendency to cut you out. Let me finish what I'm trying to say. Okay. And he goes on and says the same thing. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's exactly what you said the first time. No, the answer is this. Now, I don't think you're getting the picture here, Mike. I said, no, listen, hold on. Stop.
You just don't like
I've been doing this now for 40 years. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to ask me and ask me and ask me and ask me. I'm going to give you the same answer. What's going to happen is you're going to get mad at me. You're going to start cussing at me. And you're going to say, oh, what kind of Christian are you? And all kinds of stuff. You're going to attack me at every possible level you possibly can. And then I'm going to hang up the phone on you. Oh, no, Mike, no, I would never do it. I'm like, oh, I'm telling you, that's how it's going to go. Ask me a third time, same answer. I said, look, tell you what, ask me 3 times. This is the last time. If you can just let me explain, Mike, if you let me explain the whole picture, I said, I'm going to get one more try. After that, I'm going to tell you goodbye, and I'm going to hang up on you. He asked me the 4th time. I give him the same answer. Yep. It hasn't changed. I said, listen, I'm done with you. So you no good, effing arrogant. I knew you, the whole thing. And I said, click. Ryan, have you ever had that happen to you?
Oh, yeah.
And so
oh, yeah.
I've learned sooner that there are people out there, and they could be in a classroom. So you just got to be aware of these kind of people. Well, anticipate if you can.
Yeah, and anticipate their intent, because a lot of people, when they ask a question, they're not asking a question.
No.
You know, it's a whole different thing. They're making a statement, and they want everybody to know it or what have you. So that's where it can get kind of dicey.
Okay, Crusaders, let other people know that might share their point of view, but it's just not the time.
Right.
Just not the time right now, Joe. Come on. Right. You know, I can't let you take control of this class. We got to move on. What do you do with a student who won't quit and keeps asking the same questions? At some point, you know, you rephrase your answer, you know, because maybe I've had people ask me a question. And that one guy that blew me up for 6 weeks in Boeing, he said, I see you answered a lot of questions. He goes, how do you know that your answer was what they asked?
Right.
I'm like, well, they asked me the question. I answered it. Okay, but how do you know that you answered their question? How do you know you knew what their question was? Did you ask them after they asked you the question, did I answer your question? I'm thinking, why would I ask a guy that I answered your question when I answered your question? I mean, I already answered your question. He goes, no, you didn't. You don't know if you answered him. And he taught me a lesson. He goes, after you answer a question, say, listen, did I answer your question? And I would say 1% of the time, somebody will say, no. I'm like, oh. And usually I'll joke and say, well, my answer was a great answer, okay? No matter what. That was a great answer. But what's your question? And then we find like, 12 inches. Here I go, this long kind of convoluted thing, and that wasn't, he just wanted to know, was it 12 inches or 18? I'm like, 12 inches, you're fine there. It's not a day. So you get them to rephrase it because maybe you misunderstood what's going on, okay? And then you try to resolve it. But you're not sarcastic, you're not condescending, and you have to put a stop to it. Listen, done. And they're going to get upset. Nothing I can do about that. Listen, I know, listen, break time, right? Lunchtime. I'm here after the class. Whatever you want to do. But we're done with this at this point here. Have an advocate in the room with authority. That's if you're in a scenario where you have somebody who's going to be disruptive, but you have an organization, you're doing it for the military, the Pentagon, you're doing a seminar, and you don't know the protocol and the authority, and maybe you don't want to shut the guy down. You follow what I'm saying? Like I've done for the FAA. And maybe it would be better that the guy said, listen, I got a guy in the class, going to be disruptive. I said, I tell you what I need you to do. If it gets out of hand here, I'm going to look at you, and I'm going to ask you for you to go maybe take the guy out of the room, and you take care of it because I need an advocate. I don't have the authority, and I will take care of it, but I think it could be handled better if somebody else would handle it. I've had people tell me, Mike, there's a problem inside here, but I tell you what, if you need any help, you look at me, I'll get it taken care of. I'm like, okay, good. So get an advocate if you're in a scenario that you're not comfortable, if you're the best person to handle it. Allow them to deal with difficult students, but if they don't, then you must take charge. If they're not going to do it, you're going to have to take the guy out. I mean, that's just the best way you possibly can, the cleanest way you can. If students speak to each other in class and disrupt those around you, politely put a stop to it. You know, when I'm walking in class, if somebody's speaking, and I go to seminars, I remember this one vividly, me and like Ryan Jackson and the four of us who go to seminar, I'm sure we would sit in the classroom and we'd be incredibly disruptive to the class. We'd be talking to each other. We'd get excited about this new stuff. We'd be so engaged with what's going on that we're not even realizing that we're actually disrupting the class. So we're not trying to be disruptive. It's just that we know each other. We're really passionate about this. And I've been at a seminar, and a guy looked at me and goes, Mike, can you guys just be quiet? I'm like, oh. I mean, I'm the teacher, but in this case, I'm a student, but I'm disruptive. You know what I mean? I've seen people look at me like, I'm like, guess I'm talking too much here. So what I do is I go like this. I'll be talking. Let's see. If you're disrupting me here on the right, okay, I will make it a point to look to my left, and I'll go like this as I talk in that direction. So I'm not looking at you directly, but they see the body language here. But the guys are following my eyes. They're looking at my body language. They see me looking and talking to you, so they're going to kind of shift over that way. They're kind of moving over there, and I'm going like this. I'll go like this. I'll just kind of touch the table a little bit there. Just kind of let them know. Just gently know. Or I look, guys, you got to be quiet. You know, I'll do it people don't want to be disrespectful. They really don't want to be disrespectful. Okay, what do you do if you have a student that is out of control and you can't get rid of them? Well, let's just look at it a different way. Let's assume you're in a situation as an instructor, and whatever it is, the venue, something is just totally unacceptable, that if you continued this, you would be unbelievably stressed. You could not focus. You could not do the program. The students in general are going to be just disadvantaged. It's an extreme scenario, and it would require you to have an extreme action. And what would I do is if I have a student, I can't get, well, Mike, you don't understand, you know, politically, the way it works, this and that, the guy has to stay in the class. I would first try to get with the guy and say, look, I think you and I can work this out. You don't want to be here, and I don't want you to be here. So we actually are not like fighting each other here. So we can work this out here completely. You stay in the class. You can be quiet. Don't say a word. Go to sleep. Hey, you can use my iPhone. I mean, if you want to call people, I mean, whatever you get. Okay, you're fine. You get your own iPhone. That's good. You can go outside. You can leave now, and then you can come back at 4 o'clock, and you can say, and I'll say you were here. I mean, I don't really care. But now, and let's say that doesn't work. Then I'd get with the person and say, look, the guy, we can't be gone. I say, okay, look, one of the two of us is going to be gone. Real simple. And I'm okay with that. But if he's not gone, I'm gone. But if that is the case, I'm not going to charge you for my hotel. I'm not going to charge you for my travel. And obviously, you're not going to have to pay for it, which is fine. It was just a misunderstanding. We're not able to work it out like that. But and I understand you have your hands tied, not a problem. But that's what it's going to be. Because you can't. You can't have a situation that is you just can't deal with it. So that's how I would handle that. And it's an extreme condition. But Ryan, did you say you ever had a situation like that?
I did have it once. Yep. It was an evening class. It was a 4-hour CEU type of class, and one of the people, it was probably around 100 people, somewhere around there, and one of the guys, I'm pretty sure, had been drinking, and showed up and. And some people when they drink they're pleasant, and some people when they drink they're not. He was not, and he couldn't keep quiet. He couldn't say a sentence without 4-letter words in it, and that was the one occasion where I couldn't wait for an hour until break time. I couldn't, and it was funny because you said it's me or you, and it's so funny because I'd never heard somebody say that before, but that's exactly what I did. I told him, listen, I'm going to let all of you guys, because a lot of them, he worked with a lot of the guys, and they're friends and everything else. And I said, look, here's the way this is going to work. One of us two has to leave. We can't do what we're doing. It's just not going to work. So I'm going to let everybody here decide which one of us two leaves, because one of us has to. And that's the way it was, and And all of his friends kind of said, you know what, dude, hit the bricks. You can't be here.
What you did was
know?
what we said earlier. You got somebody with authority,
Yeah.
right? You got the class.
Right,
You got
exactly.
the buddies around him say, listen,
Right.
we need to. You gave them the power, validated them for the 2 or 3 of these guys to get this guy up, you know what I mean, and take him out of the class at their peer level that they can
Right.
connect with. So that
Yep.
was a brilliant way to do it. Beautiful way to do it.
And it's not fun. You know, I hope I never have to do it again, but I will. If it comes up, I'll do it. you
Beautiful,
know?
beautiful strategy. 6.5, guest speakers. This is very dangerous to have a guest speaker come speak if you're going to be an organization. When people have me speak, there's a certain value by choosing me because they've heard about me, they've heard the credibility, their risk level is lower, okay? But when you start getting somebody else, you just don't know. And we've had some pretty interesting scenarios with guest speakers speaking for us. I mean, incredible disasters. People that you thought were going to be really, really, really good have bombed out terribly. And so I don't know how you can vet that, but what I do as a guest speaker, the most I'd let you speak would be an hour. And sometimes I had a guest speaker that I'm like, this is not even the topic. Not even the topic. And I had to go in there and start asking questions, and I had to try to get that person back on provided. When you have a guest speaker, make sure you provide a written introduction, so that people know who. I don't like people when I go to a seminar, well, I want you to introduce you to Mike Holt. He started in 1975 as an apprentice electrician. He worked his way up, and then they're going to start spending 20 minutes talking about my career. Like, listen, do me a favor. They know who I am, okay? They got the books. They got the bios in there. They got a piece of paper. So don't introduce me. Just say, hey, listen, Mike Holt's here, and he's excited to be here to help you guys, and so let's welcome Mike. That's it. Done deal. So if you're going to do a speaker, make sure you print up a bio. Give it to somebody else. Put it copied for each person and say, listen, please don't say anything more than introduce me as who I am, and I'm your presenter, and it's like 30 seconds, and we're done. And that would be the way I would ask myself to be introduced, and that's the way you might handle it. So guest speakers, include a short biography. Find out if someone will introduce you. I've been to places, and I'm like, is anybody going to introduce me? I mean, really? Well, did you want somebody to? I'm like, I don't know how it works here. I mean, I'm working for you guys. I didn't know if somebody's going to say, hey, guys, thank you guys for coming in out of the shop today. You know what I mean? We really appreciate that. You know what I mean? We don't forget that next week we got this job to do, and we're going to be like that. And today we got Brian House is going to be talking about grounding and bonding. Well, good. At least, no, it's like, oh, what, you want somebody to introduce you? I'm like, no, I don't care. I just like to know what's the protocol. So find out what the protocol is in the introduction if you are the guest presenter or if you have somebody else. Make sure you get that out. If you have a guest speaker or co-instructor, beware of the risks. There are risks until you know how the person is. Have a plan to guide them back on task if they start drifting. It's just, I would not have a guest speaker speak more than an hour so that you limit the damage. 6.6, mistakes. We've talked about this probably 2 or 3 times. You say something wrong, inappropriate. Hey, listen, we're people, right? We can all act like we're perfect and we're politically correct and everything is beautiful, but sometimes it slips out. Sometimes maybe I shouldn't have said that. And there was nothing wrong with what I said, but there's women in here and that's going to offend them. Or there's some political people over here, and there's the guy who likes, Dale Earnhardt, and there's the guy from the north, so you get like, oh, should have said that, and so if it creates a conflict, hey, listen, guys, so you got it, whatever you do wrong, just be honest about it. Move on. Yes.
Yeah, Mike, even technically, I could be speaking about something, but I'm speaking from a particular context, and I thought that context was clear. I find out, I get a comment from the audience, and the audience comment is totally correct. It's in another context. That gives me the opportunity to say, hey, you're right. I was speaking in a small context here, and thank you for pointing that out. Larger issue, so stuff like
one of the problems right here, let's talk about this right here. I'm making all these statements. Somebody might say, well, that doesn't apply to me. I mean, I would never have more than 300 people in the class, and I don't care about having this thing and say, why are you talking about that? And like, I never had a person I'd have to kick out of the class. It's all you and me. I understand all of that. So when we're making comments and statements, we're making general, right? So you have to understand the context. And I don't know your specific exact circumstance. So my general comment would work, but it doesn't work for your specific circumstance. So there's a danger whenever we teach that we're making broad strokes, but there's specifics that will change the perfect theory into the practical reality. You know, so we person have to know that. But it's great when they ask you that, say, oh, okay, wait a minute, yeah, you're right about that. When I was saying that, you know, this all works this way, you know, you're right. I've had physicists tell me, listen, Mike, the way you're explaining electricity, it doesn't work that way. Electrons really don't move what you're saying it. And I've seen, Eric, you said that's called what? Where you have something, all models are wrong.
But some are useful for teaching.
But they're useful for teaching.
Right.
So it's not always perfect. But somebody might catch that and you say, okay, yes, you're right. So let's move on. Let's don't belabor that. And we're talking about moving on, not belaboring it. 6.7. Make your point. Nail it down. What you want the students to learn. And then move on. This is a very difficult thing for people to understand. Just say what you want to say. Get it done. And be careful that you don't keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Pull boxes and junction boxes. Okay? You get explaining pull and junction boxes, a person will get it. You talk about it much more, bingo, they lose everything you said before you start. So you have to learn, okay, let me just get to this point and let me stop it. It's enough information for now. So take a look at the slide. Be 100% prepared and don't let them sidetrack you. Make your point. Don't start distracting with, well, what about if you had this and what about if you had this? Say, listen, we'll get that at break time.